this the ultimate question that you're spending all this time contemplating, that of like wanting to get to the true answer of that, of like, yes, you're Nataraj, yes, I'm Kalyani, but also like who really are you? And that like this idea of what if somebody's like, hey, I'm such and so, who are you? And it's like, I couldn't say, and that's not really a way to function in the world, but it is the most like truthful of answers, is that we really don't know, and neither do they. We have these stories that are layered on, that have been given to us and that we've accumulated. And um, like that little octopus who gathers up all the shells and holds them around her and like is hiding in plain sight. Um, and that's like the accumulation of all of our experiences and ideas about who we are. But it's not really who we are. Like all those things will fall away, and then what's left behind, and that's just, I hadn't approached it from the sense of being an amnesiac, and that's okay. Like forgetting everything, and that's okay. And then having a little bit more space to really look at who am I without all of those things, without carrying around all of those things.
The identity that bears your name is really very simply an amalgamation of memories. The corporate self. You have incorporated all of your memories, and 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 this I that you call yourself is actually in reference to past. It's a constellation of thoughts orbiting thoughts, affirmed through emotion, which actually is resentment, you know, beyond the connotation of resentment, which has a negative connotation. It is to re-feel, and we are in a constant state of re-feeling our past through the function of memory into past. It's almost like from the now, the mind is like a time machine, always traveling to the past. And so, this is not a bad thing. It gives us a place in the world, a way to relate to the world, a way to, a personality is born and evolves from this, and sense of family and friendship and beautiful things. Part of past is also nostalgia and remembrance of acts of great generosity, great love and compassion. And so in this resentment, there is a joy exists in the inner space of the rememberer. But you know how it is when you begin to become forgetful. You can't remember somebody's name that's really loving to you. It's disturbing, isn't it? Or can't remember a cherished memory, or a loved one passes away and you can no longer recall their face, the fullness that you once were able to. So, we have grief around these things, and memories are also beautiful, aren't they? And sometimes quite horrible. Quite horrible. And but it's really the foundation of what you think yourself to be. Who you think you are is what you think. Who do you think you are? Well, it's what I think, of course. How could it be otherwise? We become so familiar with these phrases, we don't actually dive into what does it mean. Who do you think you are? Because if you think that you're that, who's observing the thought? Not you? Will the real Kalyani please stand up? Yes. you have to look between your legs and then loop around yourself. Who do you think you are? Where do your thoughts come from? So this identity is tied into memory. And so to move into the unknown, thinking you are past, to move into an unknown future would seem akin to some kind of suicide. It's a death of the... And so this is why we tend to create a future that is derivative of past. It's more comfortable to move into things that seem familiar, and what is familiar is past. You see? Are you with me? And so this future that gives us a sense of comfort and familiarity is past. Future is past. The future that the mind will lead you toward is past. Mind is past, can't go anywhere else. Can't. It's reflective, you see. It's an instrument of reflection. It's incapable of forward-looking, actually. What it calls forward-looking is backward-looking that it calls future. Like I remember giggling one time thinking that, my whole life I've been driving a car looking in the rearview mirror, but the rearview mirror was up so close that I didn't have any perspective of, I became quite an accomplished backwards driver, to the degree that driving forwards became a little strange. So mind is past. Thought, what you know is past. You can't know it otherwise. What you know refers to past. Do you see it? I call you Kalyani. That's because some years ago, we introduced each other, yes? Yeah. And from henceforth, I call you Kalyani. But that name, even uttering the name, refers to that moment. Past. Let's explore this just a little bit more. I want you to see how actually it is in the DNA of the identity. So you go home to visit your parents, or your parents come to London to visit you. You are, in your mother's mind, you are still at her breast. You still fell off your bike. And we have this sense. When you share a past, share a memory with somebody, isn't there this sense that really, are you ever really seen and known by them? Don't you have this sense when you go home to your family, they haven't the foggiest idea who you are? Huh? And then we seem to somehow revert back into the old identities based on the constellation of, the gravities of these memories, their memory and our memory. Memory, it's all memory. But somehow has a grip on this now. Let me tell you how absolutely ingrained this is into the Maya, to the duality. And we were exploring it this way recently, that memory is actually gravity. They're the same. The memory of the moon focused on the earth is what keeps it in orbit. We call it gravity. It's in orbit around Earth. The memory of Earth is its orbit around the sun. And the memory of the sun is in orbit around the black hole at the center of our galaxy. The memory of our galaxy, you see? The memory of the identity is the gravity of the past. Looping. So it's in the system, and your mind and your body, your emotions, all of it is tied to the moon and the planets and the sun, isn't it? That's why people do their horoscopes. trying to navigate through the world through astrology and tarot and all of these sorts of things. It's fine. So the past is always pulling, this memory is always pulling it. It gives you the very sense of who it is that you think you are. But just like the moon orbiting the Earth, the moon has a velocity, doesn't it? That's born of the gravity. But it has a velocity. And so there is centripetal force and centrifugal force. Isn't that how we kind of played with it the other day? I hadn't really thought of it this way so much before, but it's this way. It's this way in the mind and the body, the emotions, everything. It is this way. So the moon is constantly at the peak of escape velocity and gravity. Right? Always on the edge of that. If the moon turned its attention from Earth to sun, gone. Huh? The mind turns its attention from the world to God. It's a little turbulent at first, just like a space shuttle trying to free itself from the gravity of Earth. So much force required. Turbulent. Dangerous. Moon is mind. And in addition to its orbit around the Earth, and Earth's orbit around the sun, it also bears only the reflected light of the sun. And a full moon at night will illuminate the Earth, won't it? But it isn't the light of the moon. This light is borrowed from the sun. You see? Mind is like this also. It isn't your thought. It doesn't belong to you. It's reflecting off of the craters of the mirror of your mind. The impressions, the imprints of all of the asteroids and comets that have hit it over the years. The man on the moon. I've never really thought about it this way. It's really quite comical. So this light is not only reflected, but it's also, very slightly. We don't notice it, do we? But it's slightly modified by the fluctuations of moon. The light of the mind is this way. You call it my thought, and no such thing actually exists. It doesn't belong to you. It's borrowed. It's the borrowed light of the sun. In fact, what you call my conscience, my consciousness, also borrowed. It actually doesn't belong to you. The you that you think you are is in reference to a body and a mind, which themselves are simply instruments. It's like a telescope taking credit for discovering a star. Each one, we come to see this, and then laughter and love begin.